Module 7 is created by Jonathan Moles, and he has done a terrific job highlighting supervised agriculture experience projects and work experience. For the module highlights for this section, he focuses on supervised agriculture experiences of today. Today's projects perhaps look a little bit differently than they did 75 years ago. He also provides an SAE roadmap, which is going to be really beneficial to you because it shows how to start students off on perhaps a foundational SAE project and then transition them over time into immersion SAEs or more advanced SAEs that actually can turn into small business operations. So the roadmap, I think you'll find, is a very, very useful tool. He talks about effective ways of engaging students in SAEs, and he presents this big idea, and the big idea is so very important because SAE experience, work experience, truly does prepare students for college and also career readiness. So that he does a great job connecting that point. The chapter Spotlight is focused on Clovis East FFA chapter, and they have just an outstanding resource as far as outdoor farm laboratories. They've got everything from row crops to tree crops to individual barns for each of their livestock projects, sheep, beef, and swine. It's an amazing facility, and it's a perfect location to highlight supervised agriculture experience projects. So we hope that all the information that you learn from this module will reinforce the importance of providing hands-on learning, experiential learning opportunities for your students, connect them with things that they really love doing, because oftentimes just finding out what students love will help them connect to the next step, which is either going to college or getting a career. So providing all of these resources to help prepare students and then fill that gap is really, really important.
Module 7, SAE and Work Experience. To learn a little bit more about what this module has in store for us, we'll go over 4 objectives that will consistently come up throughout the rest of the module. One of them being how soft skills can be associated with SAEs and work experiences. The other, how to describe the roadmap of an SAE from beginning to end. In addition, we'll look at foundational and immersion SAEs, how those correlate into agricultural education, and then finally describe the incentivizing process of students to get into SAEs. But before we jump into the specific objectives throughout the module, we want to display a little bit of our philosophy of why Acres 21 believes that SAEs are essential to providing students with career-ready skills. Meaning that SAEs provide an outlet for students to use classroom knowledge for real-world applications, and because of that, they get to learn technical, employability, and soft skills. Throughout the rest of the Acres 21 modules and the entire program that Acres 21 believes in, the main purpose is to provide students a way to develop soft skills. And by doing so, they become college and career ready after high school. There are a huge variety of standards that can go back to SAEs. And these 4 examples, or these 4 categories that are on the screen, are just a few of the tip of the iceberg of what standards SAEs can encompass. One of the major ones is achievement motivation, meaning that the student likes to initiate action in new situations. In addition to that, time management is a major one, which obviously means to make optimum use of time. In addition to that, active initiative, which allows students to be motivated to achieve excellence and put a required effort into action and to attain their goals. Finally, career readiness practices can be broken down to a variety of other substandards, whether that's applying a technical skills, using creativity, ensuring that students are productive in their projects. A variety of different standards can be tied back to SAEs, hence why these 4 are the most that stand out throughout student projects. SAEs of today. SAEs have evolved over the last few years, whether it depends on the geography that a school or chapter may be in, the diversity of the student depending on their situation. But obviously, at the end of the day, agriculture education provides students a way to somehow build their skills through SAEs. And through that, there's four major ideas that SAEs are founded upon. And that's a student-led project, that's instructor supervised, that is work-based, whether that's working for someone or for themselves in a variety of different situations that we'll cover later in the module. And finally, making sure that the SAE has measurable outcomes. Of course, many SAEs out there have some kind of financial tied to them, but at the same time, measurable outcomes can be tied into how many hours the students work on their projects, or whether they're competing with their project, or a variety of other ways that measurements can be taken out of a student's project to show progression throughout their years of developing that SAE. The SAE roadmap. This 7-step pattern in this roadmap that was created for students and teachers alike from the National FFA organization has allowed students and teachers to see the progression that this SAE has from beginning to end. And we'll come back to this roadmap throughout the module to see where a student's SAE can grow from enrolling to agriculture education to the final step of being college and career ready. Now, I know I've already said it, but of course, the major part, the first initial step of creating an SAE is, of course, having a student join or be a part of agricultural education. The next step, or the next few early steps, are the foundational SAEs. And there's 5 major parts to a foundational SAE. One of them being career exploration and planning. Essentially, students are to research and explore career opportunities that are within AF and within the AF in our industry. In addition to that, they complete interest inventories and identify a career goal, and ultimately, the students are able to describe a variety of careers that are out there. In addition, employability skills for college and career. Throughout this specific component, students develop the skills needed to succeed in both college and career, whether that's the responsibility aspect, communication, innovation, all those different aspects of being employable will happen within this foundational SAE. In addition to that, the personal financial management and planning. Of course, this is a major part of a lot of SAEs where students are to craft their personal financial plan, and that way they can see what their budget is going to be like, how they're going to save and appropriately use credit that will eventually lead them into financial independence later in their lives. Again, these are all foundational parts, not only for the SAE, but in order to be, again, college and career ready after high school. The next 2 components of foundational SAE are workplace safety and agricultural literacy. Of course, with the workplace safety, a lot of SAEs, whether it's someone building projects in the shop or working with livestock or chemicals and plants, can have a little bit of a hazardous component to it. So this way, with workplace safety being part of foundational SAEs, instructors and students alike can have that fundamental knowledge of being healthy and safe throughout their work experiences in their SAEs. In addition to that, the major part of the entire purpose within foundational SAEs is agricultural literacy. This component basically builds upon the rest of the student's SAE journey by learning a little bit about, of course, careers in agricultural industry, learning about different industries within agriculture. Hopefully, students have gained interest in a specific area, and from there, they are able to come up with an SAE more specifically into a specific sector in agriculture. So we just completed the first step, as we talked about, the enroll in agricultural education. And we also talked about how to launch a foundational SCE, or rather the 5 components of the foundational SCE, which were career exploration and planning, employability skills, the financial aspect, in addition to the workplace safety and the agricultural literacy. So now that students have that mindset, the 5 main components, and especially the ag literacy component, they're able to grow something that they're interested in. And that's the next part in step 3. What are students going to grow into eventually? Their immersion SAE. After those ideas have been formulated and students can get coaching and feedback from their advisors and instructors, that's when students can finally jump into that really exciting moment of step number 5, which is choosing an immersion SAE. And that's what's next up on the roadmap. Similarly to the foundational SAEs, there are 5 major components here as well. 3 of them on our screen currently. One of them being placement and internship, and ownership and entrepreneurship, as well as research. These 3 immersion SCEs have been quite common in the past, especially the placement and the ownership SCEs. Of course, placement and internship are those types that where students physically work for someone else, for a company, to eventually gain skills and earn some kind of income, in addition to being able to have an unpaid placement or internship, mainly to develop skills. As for the ownership and entrepreneurship SAE, students here get to develop their own personal business. As we can see, this young man is mowing lawns. It can be mowing lawns or raising livestock, having a nursery at a student's house. Anything that is completely controlled by the student will be an ownership or entrepreneurship SAE, as well as research. So research SCEs essentially have students go throughout the entire scientific method from observation to conclusion and go through all the steps in between to find a solution within the agricultural industry. Whether that's food science, talking something about engineering or the animal science field, students work with instructors to find an issue that's out there that's affecting agriculture and hopefully develop a solution through the SAE project. There are 2 more types to immersion SAEs, one of them being a school-based enterprise. And this one, just like the 3 I just talked about, are quite common, whether it's a chapter or school growing crops on campus or raising livestock, having a rabbitry, or having an egg business on campus that's founded on campus, is a perfect example of a school-based enterprise, especially when students can have that feeling of a real-world workplace environment, mainly on campus. In addition to that is the service learning SAE. Students here operate under a local school or community or a level beyond that where they have some sort of service learning activity. In addition to that, at the end of this certain SAE, a reflection paper and a summary report is formulated to show off the work that they've done throughout this certain SAE. We're back at our SAE roadmap, and we've come quite a long ways from the very beginning of step 1 of enrolling in that again, launching that foundational SAE with those 5 major steps, growing an interest in one of those areas that we talked about, specifically within agricultural literacy, getting coaching and feedback from the instructor, and eventually choosing an immersion SAE, one of those 5 different types we just went over. Now that a student has chosen an immersion SAE, they finally get to enjoy the benefits of what they've learned throughout that program. And because of everything that they've learned and the skills that they've built, they are finally college and career ready at the end and conclusion of their high school journey, as well as completing the SAE program. Of course, a lot of those steps within the roadmap wouldn't even happen without first effectively engaging students from the get-go. One of the strategies that National FFA has developed for instructors is maybe put SAEs as a graded component of a class. A lot of chapters may be already using FFA as a graded percentage within a student's grade, and in addition to that, SAEs can be a part of that. In addition to that, it's the what's in it for me, the WIFM. While students coming into the agriculture education for the first time may not know exactly the breadth of agriculture industry or the different careers within it, it's important to help them realize what SAEs in agricultural education will help them do later down in life. And because of that, it'll hopefully push them to develop an exciting and skill building SAE. In addition to that is the career exploration activity as the first component of the foundation SAE. Essentially, having students explore careers, whether it's on the internet or talking with industry members, will hopefully put a spark into a certain activity or a certain sector of agriculture that will eventually jump into an immersion SAE. Here's the big idea behind not only this module, but the entire purpose why SAEs are essential to the ACRES 21 certificate pathway. Of course, the 5 components of the foundational SAE and the 5 different types of immersion SAEs from the student perspective, plus the effective engagements and incentivizing efforts of the instructor will allow everybody, both parties, to gain some skills, especially the students, of course. Whether that's technical skills or some of those more specific skills that we talked about in the standard slides, which the time management that students gained, the achievement motivation that they show, as well as the active initiative that they actively use to put on and develop an exciting SAE. All 3 parts of this big idea will allow one major exciting thing to happen for a student, and that is to be college and career ready. That's the entire purpose, not only with SAEs and agriculture education, but what the ACRES 21 certificate pathway is here to do. And the SAEs are an essential way to do that. Next up, we'll jump into the chapter spotlight with Clovis East FFA. They'll show off a little bit about what the different student projects that they have on campus, as well as some of the different school enterprises that they may have on campus as well.
My name is Ariel Covey, and I am a teacher at Clovis East High School, and we are here at the McFarland Kaufman Agriculture Center, which is the Clovis East Farm Facility. We're the home of Clovis FFA, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about our orchard, vineyard, and row crop co-op project. This is an SAE opportunity for students who maybe don't have interest in animals and livestock, or really don't have a lot of money to start their project by purchasing an animal. Here on our school farm, we not only have an orchard and a vineyard that students have the opportunity to work in by caring for the crops during off season. So that might include thinning and pruning, but also the harvesting of the crops and then the selling of those products at farmers market. Behind me, we have our row crop area, and this is a great way for students to have short-term projects. It's a great way for them to have an interest in something and really get that payoff quickly. Students have the opportunity to plant, grow, maintain the row crops, and then harvest and sell. And some of the skills that our students gain through this time would be time management. They're responsible for their time cards. They're responsible for keeping track of the time that they worked so that they can earn a profit later on when the project has concluded. So the group of students, they work together as a team, yet they individually are responsible for documenting the time that they invest and also recording that in their AET record book. Some other skills that our students are able to gain while they're here on the school farm is going to be financial skills. When they work at the farmers market, whether it be our local farmers market here in Clovis or our pop-up farmers markets that we have here at our school farm, they're handling money, and they're going to be working with people as our customers come to purchase these products. This past summer was the first year that we had to deal with selling with the COVID situation, and that definitely heightened the need for students to be kind of knowledgeable and comfortable working with people in an environment that was maybe a little bit different than what they'd ever experienced before. But our students did fantastic and actually had the most success they've ever had with farmers market when we were able to set up here at our own school facility and pull that local public consumer right here to our school farm versus downtown Clovis. Some other skills that our students earn, I mentioned that they work as a team. So teamwork is really important. We have a large area here and one student can't do this job on their own. So whether it's one student on the tractor and the other student following behind, or dividing up the area to do the maintenance of the weeding and the care for the plants, teamwork is definitely important, and communicating between the people that are included in that team to make sure that the monitoring and the checks of the plants are done, and also the communication with the advisor that's in charge of this project area. We have found that we have a local community right here around our Clovis East area that wants to buy our products. But sometimes going to the Clovis Farmers Market, there's a lot of competition there. We were very fortunate to receive a facility grant several years ago, and the plans for that grant have been in the works. And we're excited that in the next couple months, we'll be breaking ground on what will be a food science laboratory with a processing area, as well as a floral design laboratory. And then attached to that will be an open air farmers market area. We have a school facility, a school farm that 15 years ago had nothing but farmland around it. And today we have homes that have been built on the north, the west, and the south side of our school. So all within walking distance to our school farm, we have many, many homes and families. And so we look forward to the opportunity to be able to invite them out to our school farm facility to purchase food that's been grown right here by students at our farmers market.